Okay, you know how cancel culture isn't real? It actually is real. So there were a number of Harvard student groups that signed on to a letter which denounced Israel. I haven't read the letter myself. What did I say? Israel? Okay, nice. Thank you. You all distracted me from what I was saying. Are you proud of yourselves? Are you proud? You proud now? Um, some Harvard students in a variety of student groups signed on to letters which were, let's say, highly critical of Israel with regards to the recent conflict with Hamas and in Palestine. And as a consequence of this, there has been a protracted campaign to dox these students. Harvard student groups issue an anti-Israel statement. CEOs want them blacklisted. Billionaire hedge fund CEO Bill Ackman, one of the most powerful people in the world, thank you, and several other business leaders are demanding Harvard University to release the names of students whose organizations sign on to a letter blaming Israel for the deadly attacks by Hamas. Keep in mind, I blame Israel for the deadly attacks by Hamas, considering Israel has created the situation which causes this through decades of violation of international law and brutality against the Palestinian people. They have essentially guaranteed this outcome. Netanyahu, the nation's leader, has literally propped up Hamas because he knows that he benefits from Islamic fundamentalists representing Palestinian freedom. Anyway, the idea that you can be a part of a student group and you can sign on to a letter, and as a consequence, ultra powerful billionaires try to dox you and blacklist you from work is a chilling effect on free speech that is genuinely terrifying to think of. Vaush, wait, those names got released. Some of them did. As a matter of fact, HarvardHatesJews.com put up a truck billboard where they posted the names and faces of Harvard students that signed on to the letter and drove around. These black box redactions were not, of course, on the truck themselves, but rather added after the fact. So this is probably the most severe imaginable kind of cancel culture. I mean, we are talking about students, literally like 18, 19 years old, whatever, who, for their political opinions, are having their faces and names broadcast as widely with implicit threats of violence and blacklisting and what have you. It's genuinely disgusting, and the people who are participating in this are nightmarish and fascistic. This is essentially McCarthyism. First of all, the idea of like McCarthyite level free speech chilling being enacted over opinions on a Middle Eastern conflict is so fucking psychotic. At least McCarthy was fear-mongering over the threat of communists in our government. At least that nonsense fear-mongering tactic was oriented around domestic policy and the politicians elected to enact it, not over your opinions on a conflict 10,000 miles away. Like, does anyone else feel like this is actually more psychotic? Like student groups, students having their faces put on trucks and driven around. There are websites where if you express pro-Palestinian positions, they will put you up there and you can be doxxed or blacklisted for it. Like they compile lists. This is functionally no different from what the anti-Semites did in Germany in the 1930s. The degree of deliberate targeting and public ostracization from the naming, doxing, the broadcasting faces, the "this business is run by a Jew" posters that you saw people running around with, the underlying social tactics are identical. In this case, the power differential isn't quite the same because obviously there isn't going to be a Holocaust committed against people who support Palestinians. The Holocaust will just be committed against the Palestinians. So it's displaced about 10,000 miles. But, you know, if you're over here in the West, you're probably not going to be sent to a death camp for being pro-Palestine. You'd have to be in Palestine to be sent to that death camp. The camp has already been built. They call it the Gaza Strip. The extent to which this represents a chilling effect on free speech is like impossible to overstate. How exactly are people supposed to ever express any kind of pro-Palestinian opinion if it means that a legion of the world's worst humans throw you on a doxing site and like are calling around trying to get you blacklisted? It's not possible. It's ridiculous. The goal of this, of course, is to silence people for speaking the truth. If the cause for Israel's continued ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people was so just, they would not need to threaten to blacklist people for disagreeing with it. It is a willful violation of the principles of free speech, which is funny considering that one of the main arguments that Zionists will use to defend their treatment of Palestinian people is that Israel is a liberal democracy, and the Palestinians do not themselves elect liberal Democrat leaders, while of course employing fascistic tactics to silence opposition. I mean, Texas literally makes teachers sign a pledge to Israel. It's insane. Yep. From the making BDS movements illegal, the conflation of any pro-Palestinian advocacy for anti-Semitism, the like signing allegiance to Israel. Oh yeah, we never talked about that, did we? Texas teachers sign pledge to Israel. Again, I want to remind everyone, none of this is being done by Jews. Jews have very little social power in the United States, besides making, I don't know, movies sometimes, I guess. This is overwhelmingly being done by Christian fundamentalist fascists who use Jews as a wedge, because in this country, the accusation of anti-Semitism is a severe one. It's a social prejudice we take seriously. It is weaponized extensively by evangelical Christians in the service of a Zionist cause, which they pursue for their own reasons. They do not care about Jews. The evangelical Christians in this country both work with and elect people who have direct ties to neo-Nazis. The idea that evangelical Christians are operating out of some kind of sincere desire to protect Jewish people is ludicrous and fundamentally flawed. They are doing it because they have their own interest in maintaining Jewish control of the Promised Land, and it's politically effective for them to do this. But yes, Noel King talks to Bahia Amawi, a Texas speech pathologist who lost her job after she refused to sign a contract that includes a pledge to not boycott Israel. Now she's suing. This was 5 years ago. I don't know what happened to the lawsuit. Vaush, you're largely correct, but I'm Jewish, and I can tell you I know Jews who are absolutely this radical on free speech and BDS. It's not a negligible part of the push. That's true, but keep in mind, those fascistic Jews might be part of the push, but without the evangelical Christians, they would be powerless. Jews have very little independent political power in this country, and you know that because the majority of American Jews vote Democrat, and for some reason, the broader political power of Jews never seems to be pushed in line with Democrat interests, only with ludicrous, like, far-right backed Zionist interest. So the fascistic Jews might be like a convenient ally on these issues, but they are not the weight of power. They are not the fulcrum. They aren't the mechanism that is delivering this behavior, you know, or these policies. Vaush, I've taken a screenshot of HarvardHatesJews.com and I've taken out the names. Ah, yes, from Accuracy in Media. Definitely. The names Accuracy in Media has been able to independently confirm are listed below. And then here are a bunch of people at Harvard. Each and every one of these students should be expelled and their student organization should be kicked off campus. Super cool. Super great. Curiously, it's all minority groups. African American Resistance Org, Harvard Muslim Law School Association, Harvard Undergraduate Palestine Solidarity Committee. Curiously, all the people they're going after are blacks and Muslims. What a remarkable coincidence that these extremely sincere advocates for the rights of Semites are just coincidentally, you know. Sorry, it's very grim. Like and subscribe.